Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to get present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where you can sit and have your spine and back of your neck be nice and long and straight and tall. And opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. If you would kindly gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. And soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale, and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the new Ayurvedic season. As we've discussed, Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. It's an ancient health system dating over 5,000 years that focuses on 3 doshas or energies. The doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And all 3 of these doshas or energies are present in each of us in various levels, varying levels. And it's determined by our mind, our body, and our spirit. The goal of this science is to keep you in balance, and that's the key word, balance. And it keeps you in balance through what you eat and through your emotional and physical wellness procedures and routines. Doshas are applied to other things too. There are dosha seasons. And summer, which we started on Wednesday, yay, is Pitta season. And it's governed by fire, heat, the fire element, and water. So think light, heat, and humidity. One of the fundamental principles of Ayurveda is that our habits, routines, and dietary choices should ebb and flow with the seasons. I'm going to add to that too, from because it can get confusing with your own personal dosha and the seasonal dosha. Like, for example, I am a Pitta Vata. I have a tendency to overheat, get hot-tempered, just that fire element's present with me, and to balance, I have to keep cool. So in summertime, I have to particularly be aware of those things that will balance off a Pitta, because I'm like attracts like. The heat of me in the heat of summer doesn't work well. So I have to balance that off with a lot of coolness, personally and for the season. We're lucky we live in North America, New England in particular, because we really can see these dosha seasons taking place. And it's almost instinctual for us how to alleviate and balance the doshas, alleviate the heat in the summertime by being cool, finding things that will keep us cool. Whereas if we were in Florida, where temperatures are pretty consistent year round, you're like in a constant state of pitta. So it's hard to follow the seasons. But so my advice is, if you know your own personal dosha, in the summertime when you're hot, that pitta season, you find your own personal dosha and find what mitigates your own personal, puts you back into balance. So, for example, there's, when in Ayurveda science, at least what I come across is like they love to talk about recipes and things to eat. So one fun fact that I found was limes are much more cooling than lemons. So I love hot lemon tea, my honey lemon tea. But in the summertime, I'm switching to room temperature. Actually, this is a little bit cool from the refrigerator, but with a lime in it instead, and having that be a little bit more refreshing. Watermelons for pitta and in pitta season are a real great cooling fruit. Things that are sweet and cooling, but they also steer me away from eating strawberries. Obviously, evidently strawberries are not as cooling as other things I could have. Bitter things are good in pitta season, like leafy greens, salads, and astringent, which would be legumes, more, you get your protein from legumes versus, say, meats or chicken, pork. Fish is a good protein in the summertime. So that's Ayurveda about pitta season. And going into our pranayama, our breathing technique, there's a couple of them that produce coolness in you. And it's Sitali is the Sanskrit name for one of them, and Sitkari is the Sanskrit name for another one. Both of them are cooling for the mind, the body, and temperament. So Sitali, this is one that people can, or sometimes they're not able to do, but you would curl your tongue like you're sipping through a straw, and inhale, close your mouth, and exhale through your nose. So if you try that, even though the air around you may be warm, it does somehow feel cooler bringing in that air. So the other one, the Sitkari, is something probably you could do a little bit better in public. It's the teeth together, lips are in a big smile, and inhale with a hiss, and close your mouth and exhale through your nose. And it does bring in, the broader your smile, the more cooling air it does bring into your system. And it just, the smiling, I think in itself will dissipate that hot temper, anger stuff that you have. You just you feel more joyful and happy and lighter when you're smiling. So those are the two to try to keep you cool this summer. For meditation, we're just going to do our standard meditation. I do have a mudra that is cooling. It's called Jala, and it's the water meditation. And each of our fingers kind of represents an element of, in Ayurveda, there's 5 elements. And fire is your thumb, and your pinky is water. So if you bring those 2 together and extend the other 3, that is a cooling mudra. So if you're doing your meditations and you're feeling a little steamy, you can try that one. So let's just take a few moments and do our meditation, and I will meet you on the mat. You may open your eyes now, and we'll start our asana practice. So continue in your nice, comfortable seated position. We'll start with some shoulder shrugs. Inhaling, lifting our shoulders gently up, and then bringing them down toward the mat, and then circling around, bringing them up on the inhale and down on the exhale. Just go nice and slow. And that's another thing in summer when you get hot. You think, oh, the last thing I want to do is yoga practice. You do a yoga practice, just do your moves slower. You don't have to build up a sweat, maybe more of a yin style, but do your favorite ones, tree pose, and maybe do that longer, hold that pose longer, so that you're doing fewer poses, but you're hitting all the key components that you'd like to hit for yoga, to have you be mobile, flexibility, the balance, and the strength. Maybe just now reverse the direction. And then we'll bring our fingertips to the sides and do some sun breaths. So inhale, sweeping our hands up overhead. And exhale, bringing our hands down. Inhale up. And exhale down. And you can experiment with your 2 breathing techniques, the smiling one or the curling tongue one. And if you can't curl your tongue, you just kind of bring your tongue out like a dog panting and breathe the air over your tongue, and that'll be cooling as well. And the next one, we're going to bring our arms up with a big inhale and turn our torso to the left and bring our hands down. Right hand lands on our left knee. Left hand lands on the mat right behind our hips. And take a deep breath in and exhale out. And then sweep our hands up and over, twisting to the right, landing our left hand on our right knee and our right hand behind our hips. Inhale, come back up and twist to the left. Take a big inhale and exhale. And then inhale up. Again, twisting to the right, bringing our arms down, hands landing on a knee and right behind our hips. Big inhale in, exhale out. And one last time to each side, come over to the left. And then take that inhale and exhale. And then inhale, sweep up our hands. And last, twist it over to the right, bringing our hands down. Inhale, exhale. Come back to center. And set your feet side by side. If you have them crossed over, you just kind of do that cross, and if you can place them side by side, we're going to do a forward fold in a seated position. So we're going to just gently walk our hands out, pivoting at the waist, and just go as far as what is comfortable for you. Reading about having poses suited for the Pitta season, you can walk your hands back. The practice should include twists and forward folds and chest openers. So we're going to be doing a lot of those today. So you extend your leg that was on the outer part. You can extend that straight out at a diagonal away from you. And place your back of your hand against your inner part of your knee, and we'll send the other arm up. And then we'll slide that hand that's next to our knee down toward our toes and do a side twist. Revolving head to knee. We're going to come down and we're at our side, but then we're going to turn our head so that it's facing toward the knee and walk our hands back up. So we'll bring our feet back together again, this time bringing the opposite foot alongside the other one. And we'll do a seated forward fold. Again, just walk your hands gently out in front of you. Just find what's comfortable for you, making sure that your breath is still nice and even. Use that as your guide. And then walk your hands back. Extend that outer leg out to the side, straight out to the side. Bring the back of your hand against your knee. Send your other arm up along your ears, and then we'll slide. So revolve, side twist. And continue your breathing. And then we'll turn our head so that's facing the knee and walk our hands back up. Then we'll come up into tabletop. So coming up onto our hands and knees, our wrists are right below our shoulders, knees are right below our hips. Fingers are splayed out, gripping the mat here, creating strength in your fingertips. Navel's tucked to the spine, creating a nice flat back. We're pushing gently into our hands to create space between our shoulders and our ears, just keeping ourselves nice and open, not collapsed upon ourselves. We're going to round our back and exhale, coming into cat. Nice stretch of our spine. And then inhale, lift our head and our tail up and really open up your chest for cow. Exhale, round our back, tucking our head and tail under. And then inhale, sending our head and tail up, and really feel that opening in your chest. Round your back again for cat. And then send your head and tail up for cow. Continue at your own pace for a few moments and just really feel the stretching of your spine, the opening of your chest, synchronizing your breath with your movements. And then come back to tabletop, neutral spine. We'll extend our right leg down to the bottom of the mat. Toes are touching, the tips of the toes are touching the mat. And then we're going to bring that toe outside the mat to the left, bringing it to the left side of the mat so it's on the outside part of the mat. We call this rear view with a twist. And then we're going to gently turn our head to the left and then take a look back to our right foot rather, to the toes. And then bring that foot back. So we're back to tabletop, and we'll do that on the other side. Extend your left leg down to the bottom of the mat. Toes are touching the mat. Then take your toes, send them over to the right side of the mat so that they're actually off the mat. And then gently turn your head as if you're saying no to the right. And then send your gaze back to your toes. And then bring that back. We'll do that once more on each side. So extending the right leg back, toes landing on the mat. And taking your toes to the left, to the outer part of the mat. And then turning your head to the left, gazing back at your right foot. There's a nice breeze coming through. I should back up, being a part of that breeze. And then bring your leg back to tabletop, and we'll do the left side. So left foot gets extended to the bottom of the mat. Bring that toes over to the right side, extend them off the mat. turn your head to the right, and then send your gaze back to your left toes. And then bring that back to tabletop. We're going to, back from tabletop, we're going to send our elbows down to the mat right where our hands were. So extending our fingertips toward the front of the mat. And then we're going to move our arms, slide our arms forward to the point where it's comfortable for you, but the idea is to open up your chest, bringing it down to the mat. So this is extended puppy. You bring your forehead down to the mat and just try to stretch your chest down to the mat. And then gently walk your hands back. Send your hips toward your ankles, coming into child's pose. And send your arms straight out in front. Nice stretches for your spine. And then come back up to tabletop. And tuck your toes underneath, and we're going to walk our hands back and come up into a squat. We're pushing down to the top toes of our balls of our feet. We're going to come into mountain pose. We'll go through our mountain essentials. Toes are pointing to the straight edge of the mat. We'll lift our toes up off the mat, spread them apart as far as we can, and then bring them back down to the mat. Lift our heels up off the mat, and then bring our heels back down. So in Pitta season, because it's fire, things that would be offsetting to balance you is to find things that are grounding, connecting to the earth and really feeling rooted down is grounding. How cold air falls and hot air rises. So the closer you can be to the earth, theoretically, the cooler you could be. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. So our legs are nice and straight and strong. Gentle bend in our knees. Navel's tucked to the spine, creating a nice long spine, back of your neck. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back, just opening up our chest. Again, that feels nice and cooling. Crown of our head is reaching up to the sky. And we'll sweep our hands up, taking a big inhale, bring our hands up overhead. And then we'll bring our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go to support our lower back. Forward fold. Just check in with ourselves here. Not too long, but see how we are. And trying to stay cool. So you may want to extend, instead of go all the way down to a forward fold, half forward fold where you're a little bit more open, not contained. Might be a little bit more cooling, but you get that same benefit. And then dropping the crown of your head down toward the mat. And just letting your hands hang here for a moment. Letting gravity take over. And inhale, sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. And we'll come up onto our tippy toes and let's do a palm tree today. We're going to just keep on our tippy toes and sway our arms. Try to maintain our balance in that. Maybe find the drishti point where you can focus on while your body's swaying in the breeze. And then bring your heels back down, bring your hands back down to the mat. Bending your knees as you go. Inhale, lifting the half forward fold, nice flat back. Gaze is sent down, and then bringing the crown of your head down toward the ground. Sweep your hands all the way up overhead again. Palms come together. And then supported side stretch. We're going to bring our right hand down to our right thigh. And just slide it down toward your right knee. Then inhale, bring it back up. And exhale, bringing the left hand down to the left thigh. Slide it down toward your knee. And come back up. And one more time on the right side. Slide it down toward your knee. And then inhale, come back up. And one last time on the left side. Slide it down toward your knee and come back up. Then exhale, bringing both hands back down to the mat, to the earth, bending your knees. Inhale, half forward fold, hands on your shins, nice flat back. Exhale, crown comes down toward the ground. Inhale, sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. And I forgot, I was supposed to stay down. So let's go back down again. So exhale, bringing our hands all the way down. And we're going to do a forward fold with a twist. So our hands are in front of our feet. We're going to keep our left hand on the ground, bend our left knee toward our left arm, and then sweep our right arm all the way up to the sky. You can follow that with your gaze, and your right leg is as straight as is comfortable for you. And then bring your right hand down, and we'll switch places. The right hand goes in front of the right foot. The right knee bends toward the right arm. Left leg is somewhat straight, is what is comfortable for you. And then sweep your left hand all the way up overhead, following your fingertips with your gaze. And then bring your left hand back down. Then sweep both hands up overhead. Bring your hands together, palms to heart center. And then palms to the back of your hips. We'll come into our supported back bend. So the pads of your hand are against your hip, fingertips are pointing down. Your shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. And tucking the chin toward your chest, you're going to just drop your shoulders back to the point where you can feel your breathing. Stay consistent. If it starts to get a little shallow, just bring your torso forward a little bit more. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring yourself back upright. And we'll sweep our hands up overhead, a big inhale. And exhale, bring your hands all the way down to the mat. Placing them on the mat, we're going to send both feet back into downward dog. So just pedal out your dog here. Get comfortable in your dog. Your hands, actually your index fingers pointing to the top of the mat. Fingers are splayed wide apart. Arms are straight. Chest is reaching toward your thigh to extend your hips up toward the sky. And you could pedal out here. And then on the next inhale, we're going to bring our left knee to our left elbow, pushing off with our right toes. And then bring it back to downward dog and pedal out again. And then on the next inhale, we're going to lift our left knee to our left elbow. And then back to downward dog. And pedal out. And then on this last one, we're going to bring our left foot between our hands. So inhale, bending your knee, bring your foot all the way forward. Between your hands, you may assist it like I did. And coming into runner's lunge. We'll place the right hand on the mat and sweep our left hand up to the sky for runner's lunge with a twist. And then bring our left hand back down. We'll bring our right knee down to the mat, top of our right foot down to the mat. And we'll walk our hands back. And as we do, we'll straighten out our left leg and flex our left toes up toward the sky. And then walk our hands back up. Walk our hands past our foot so that we're actually bringing our hips down closer to the mat and opening up our chest, sending our gaze straight out. And then we'll walk our hands all the way back again, straightening out our left leg, flexing our toes up to the sky, and walk our hands back to the front of the mat, up past our foot, and then opening up our chest, bringing our hips down toward the mat. And one last time, walking back, stretching out those hamstrings, and then walking our hands forward, opening up our chest, bringing our hips down, and then walking our hands back to our foot, back to runner's lunge. Actually, I didn't change my page. We're going to tuck our foot under, coming into runner's lunge, and then walk our hands to the right side of the mat and walking along the long side of the mat, coming into a wide-legged stance. This one, we would have our heels out just a little bit more than our big toes. So you can kind of pigeon toe your big toes ever so slightly. And then we're going to walk our hands over to our right leg. So our head to knee. And then walk our hands over to our left leg. And bring our head toward our knee. And then walk our hands back to center. And then sweep our right hand up to the sky, making a nice twist. Back down. And then sweeping our left hand up to the sky. And bring that back down. And then bending our knees, we're going to bring our hands to our hips and come up to a wide-legged stance. And now we're going to move our feet so that the toes are pointing to the corners of the mat and the heels are tucked in. So it's a little opposite of what you were just doing. We'll come into star pose. And with this, take your time and really focus where your knees go. Your knees should kind of point in the same direction as your feet. So your feet might need changing. May not be that your knees need changing, but when well, we'll do that in a minute. So lifting your arms up to the sky in star pose, and then we're going to bring them down to goalposts and bend our knees as we go, coming into goddess. And now's the time to check on your knees. You should be able to see your big toe on the inner part of your knee. And you try to get your back flat, straight up, so your spine is straight, coming out of the floor instead of angled over. So we'll come back up to star and back down to goddess. And check on your positioning. And straight back means pointing in the same direction as your toes. Come back up for star. And then back down for goddess. And then we'll come back up to star. We're going to pivot both feet to the left. So our left foot is pointing to the straight edge or short edge, and our back foot is at an angle, and we're going to come back down to runner's lunge. And then make your way into downward dog and pedal out here for a moment. And then we're going to take our left knee and place it behind our left wrist, coming into pigeon pose. We're going to create a little bit of a diagonal with our left foot heading toward the right side of the mat. And then you can slide your right leg down so that your knee and the top of your foot are resting on the mat. And oftentimes we do a reclined pigeon pose, but today we're just gonna stay in the upright and maybe walk your hands back, really opening up your chest. Have that proud pigeon. And then we're going to tuck our toe under the toe that's down toward the bottom of the mat, tuck it under, and then come back into downward dog and pedal out here for a moment. And we'll do that on the other side. So we're going to, on the inhale, bring our right knee to our right elbow, pushing off with our left toes, and then back to downward dog, pedal out. Then inhale, bring that right knee to the right elbow, and then back to downward dog, and pedal out. And then on the next one, we're going to bring our right foot all the way up between our hands. So inhale, lifting your foot up, guide it between your hands, coming into runner's lunge. And then we'll plant our left hand on the mat, sweep our right hand up to the sky with a twist. And bring your right hand back down. We'll bring our left knee down to the mat, left top of our foot down to the mat, and walk our hands back, straightening out our right leg, flexing our toes up to the sky, and then walking our hands up past our foot, and then really opening up our chest, sending our hips down toward the mat. We'll do this 2 more times. So walk your hands back, straightening your leg, flexing your toes. And walk your hands forward, past your foot, opening up your chest, sending your hips down. And then one last time. Straightening out that leg. Feeling that stretch, gentle stretch, mind you, in your hamstrings. And then walking your hands one last time to the front of the mat, lifting up your chin, opening up your chest, and then coming back to runner's lunge. We'll tuck our toe under, coming back to the runner's lunge. We'll now walk our hands to the left side of the mat. And I'm going to flip around so I don't have my back to you. And again, we're going to have our heels extended out a little further than our toes, so we're a bit pigeon-toed. And we'll walk our hands over to our left leg, bringing our head toward our knee. And then walk our hands over to our right leg, bringing our head toward our knee. And then walking them back to center. We'll plant our right hand down and lift our left hand, twisting up to the sky. And then bring our left hand down. And then sweeping our right hand up to the sky. And bring that back down. And then bending your knees. Bring our hands to our hips. Come to an upright position. And we're going to switch our feet so that our toes are pointing to the corners of the mat. Heels are tucked in at a 45-degree angle. This is where your knees are going to follow your toes' direction. So we'll just kind of do a test, see if they are looking good. All right, sweep our hands up to the sky, coming into star, and then we'll come down into goddess, again with our knees following that direction of our toes. Our spine is nice and tall, perpendicular to the mat. And then inhale, back up to star. And then back down to goddess. Really sit in that. Bring it back up to star. And then back down to goddess. Nice and slow and controlled. And then back up to star. And then we'll bring our hands down. And our pivot both feet to the right. So the right toes are pointing to the short edge of the mat. Back foot's at an angle. We'll bring our hands down to the mat, come into runner's lunge. And then bring our foot back into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And we'll do pigeon pose on the right side. So bring our right knee, place it right in the back of our right wrist on the mat, angling our foot over to the left, and then sliding our left leg back down the mat, and bringing the knee and the top of the foot down. And then you can walk your hands as far back as what's comfortable. Really do your proud pigeon imitation. And then walk your hands forward again, tuck your toe under, come back to downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And then bring both knees down to the mat, back to tabletop. And then you swing your knees or your feet to one side or the other, and we're going to come on into a seated position. Actually, it'd be staff pose. And then we're going to roll down to the mat. So you can have your knees bent and roll back one vertebrae at a time. You can have your legs on the mat and roll back, or you can tuck your hands under your knees and just do the express method and roll back. Your choice. And then bring your knees to your chest, give them a nice gentle hug. And we'll rock back and forth. Just give our lower back a nice massage. And then we'll place our hands on our knees. Do what I call rowboats. So we push our knees away from us, extending our arms fully, and then opening up our knees to each side, bringing the soles of our feet together. Oh, this is nice with the breeze coming all over me now. And then bring our knees, guide our knees to our shoulders. And then close our knees over our chest, back to knees to chest. We'll do that a few more times. So extend your knees away from you, extending your arms fully. Open your knees to each side, soles of your feet come together. Guide your knees toward your shoulders. And then guide your knees over your chest. We'll do two more. Extend away from you. And then open up your knees to each side. Guide your knees back to your shoulders. And then close them over your chest. And one last time, pushing your knees away. Having your knees open to each side. Guide your knees toward your shoulders. And then close your knees over your chest. We'll bring our hands, interlacing our fingers, bring your hands in the back of your head so that your head's resting on your hands and your elbows are pointed to each side. We're going to extend our right foot out and flexing our toes as we go. We're going to extend our foot out and have it hover above the mat, say about 6 inches to a foot, whatever's comfortable for you. So that your lower back is snug on the mat. So feel that connection and adjust the height of your foot to that. And then we're going to lower that right foot down to the mat. Touching the mat and then lifting it right back up slowly with control to that same spot. And then bring your knee back to your chest. We'll do that with the other foot. Both toes are flexed. Extend your left leg fully out. Let it hover there. Check in with the lower back. Make sure that it feels snug against the mat. And then lower down to the mat. And then up toward that spot. And then back to your chest. This time we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to have our toes pointed. So in your knees to chest, point your toes, and then extend your foot out like you're slicing your foot through the air. And then bring it down to the mat. And back up. And bring your knee back to your chest. And we'll do that with the left side. So keeping your toes, both toes pointed. Slice your left toes through the air to that spot where you're hovering above the mat. Lower it to the mat. And bring it back up again. And then bring your knee back to your chest. And give your knees a nice gentle hug. And then we'll send our arms out to the side at shoulder height. Bring our feet to the mat. So they're about hip width apart. And we'll do the somatic windshield wipers. So your feet are right below your hips, maybe just a skosh out toward the edges of the mat. And we're going to drop your knees over to the right side. And as we do, we're going to send our gaze to our left and look at our left hand with the palm up. And on the right side, our palm will be down. So we're going to do these little flipper moves with our hands. So our gaze is to the left. Left palm is up, facing the sky. Right palm is facing the ground. So then inhale, bring your knees back to center, and then drop them over to the left. And as you're doing that, you're going to flipper your hands, sending your gaze over to your left hand. Your left palm will be up toward the sky. Your right palm will be up toward the sky, and your left palm down toward the ground. Inhale, come back up. Drop your knees to the other side. Flip your hands. Send your gaze to the left. Left palm is up. Right palm down. Inhale, move your legs back to center and then back down, lowering to the left. Sending your gaze over to the right. Right palm up, left palm down. And just continue here. You get the drift. Nice, slow, controlled moves, moving from one side to the other. And we'll do one more. And then meet you back in center. And then extend your feet down to the bottom of the mat and prepare for Shavasana. You bring your heels toward the corners of the mat and let your feet just flop open. Relax your legs. Just kind of do a body scan from your feet on up. Let your lower back relax, drop into the mat. Let your shoulders relax and drop into the mat. Your arms are angled up from your torso, palms facing up, and just relax. Take a deep inhale, and on the exhale, just let your body completely let go. This morning, I have a blessing, and the author is unknown. It's a summer solstice blessing, since we had summer solstice on Wednesday. It's the midsummer's evening, the shortest of night, where our planet is blessed with the greatest of light. The sun at its power, sharing its wealth, with the earth glowing in abundance and health. The trees' leaves are green, the birds are in song. The days are as warm as they are long. We honor the animals, the planet, the plants and living things, the sun and the water, and for the life that it brings. May you find well-being and may you find peace in days after solstice, as the sun does decrease. May the blessings of the solstice be yours, I pray, and the light warm your heart and soul every day.